co-host, my witchy poo sister from another mister, Jen. How you doing, Jen? I'm so happy to have you back, honey. I
Hello.
missed you.
I am doing good. I am getting back on track, and
Mm.
everything is starting to come back into place. And it's taking it one day at a time, but that's life.
Uh, Honey, that's all we're asking you to do is take it one day at a time. Nobody said you had to do all those days all in one
That's
lump sum, honey.
yeah. It'll
That's
take
okay
some time.
to, and some days, soon as I told you this new internet thing going on, yeah, sometimes life just lifes in so many different
Yeah.
directions, and you just can't seem to function, and that's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, there are times when I
Yeah.
can't life either. I mean, on a daily basis, life life's
Yeah.
all over me, and I'm gonna turn this on. I just wanted to nope, go this way for the live chat, just in case. Um, yeah, sometimes life just life's all over me. It life's all over me, and I just can't stand it no more. So, um, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You got to do what you feel is good for yourself, and only take on so much that you can handle, and then just say I'm done.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Um, but I'm so glad to have you back. I miss your face. I miss your
I know.
face.
I missed it. I was like I'm sitting there, and like every Monday was coming, and I was like, "Is this the night we're supposed to do it?" I was like, "I don't know."
Yeah. Well, that's why I said, to you about the whole situation that you let me know when you are ready. And
Yeah.
if you're ever ready, uh, and I respect that. So that's how I roll. I roll
Yeah.
on respect at this point.
No, it was
So what
time. I had to get back to my normal stuff, and
mhm,
they, when I went back to work, they were like, "Why don't you just take a couple more days?" And I'm like, "I've taken enough. Like, I have to
yeah.
get back into the
Mhm.
swing of things, and just get back to the way things were." So,
Mhm. Tim said same here, Jen. Uh, I was so happy to see your sister today at work. I just like to give her a big hug. I was like, Jojo, I miss you. And everybody was happy to see her back at work, so which was a good thing. But
yeah.
anywho's, so how's Miss Hex? Has she been hexing anybody over there, Miss Hex?
Uh, she has not
Has she
been
been here?
hexing anyone, although I keep having to pick stuff up. She um is a little mischievous. She
Oh,
definitely has found her groove now that she's been here
uh-huh.
for a little while. And
Okay.
she is moving things about here in my witchy room, which her and I are going to have a conversation because she almost knocked some
Ooh.
really expensive things off my shelf. Um,
Mhm.
but in the middle of the night, she absolutely loves to go downstairs and knock breakable stuff off and break it overnight. And
Oh, Lord.
so the other morning, we came downstairs and there was a broken jar of jelly. And first, first was not happy about that. It was one of the canning jars that my mom had done, and I think it was our last one.
Oh,
So we
no.
are out that now,
Not
and
Barb's
she's
jelly.
upset.
Not Barb's jelly.
Yeah, it was
Well,
the
and
Christmas
I may
butter.
have to drive over there and give her a piece of my mind too. I
But
mean,
she did that, and then Saturday night, I hadn't fell asleep yet, and I was laying upstairs, and next thing I know, I just hear this loud crash, and I was like, "Oh dear God!" I was like, "What did she do now?" And I went
oh,
downstairs, and I
no.
have it was a Scentsy wax melt thing, and it had this little scene that goes around it, so when you turn it on, it lights up. It like puts the scene on the wall, and I've
Yeah.
had that for years. And yeah, I guess she just didn't like it because she knocked that sucker right on off and busted it to
Oh,
pieces. So
wow.
that's where we're at with her right now. But other than that, she's definitely found her groove. She is a very lovable cat. She does love to snuggle and sleep with you, but
Aww.
she does like to get up and do that little mischievous nocturnal stroll through the house. So we're gonna have
Oh,
to get that
yeah.
under control.
Wow. And look, I see you giving her a side eye. She over there
I
in
know
the
she's there.
corner.
She's sitting around down by my books, and that's the next thing. I was like, "You get in my books, we're gonna have problems."
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Bro said, nice to have you back, Jen.
Oh,
Nice to
thank
see you.
you.
That was Jim. I know we affectionately have named Maven Mayhem Maven. Uh because she's like Mayhem from that commercial, the TV commercial with the guy
Yeah,
in the car. Mayhem. And she does cause quite a bit of mayhem. We're waiting for her to trip somebody going up or down the steps because she likes to just walk. She speeds down the steps in front of you and then she just stops on the stairs and then looks
yep.
at you like, hello. No, we're not. We ain't having none of that. Mm-mm. No,
Yeah,
no.
Hex does that too. But
Uh,
instead of stopping right in front of you, she likes to cross
terrible.
in front of you and dart real quick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's crazy. Um, so I'm surprised when I texted you, and your response was, "Oh, you know what? I've been researching something for a while." It was like, "Oh, you go, Jen. You go,
I
Jen."
mean,
So,
I've been looking into
so
it,
what
and
are
it's
you
been
going
a
to talk
little
about?
hard to find some of the stuff I was looking at. So I still have bits and pieces. So that's why I said we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna we're gonna dive into New Orleans a little bit, and we're gonna be
Woohoo!
touching on different things here and there that have kind of like I've come across. But the one thing that I came across is I know we talk about the Appalachian Mountains and how you have like
Mm-hmm.
a set of rules, not to whistle in the woods after dark and things of that
Yep.
nature. I've never really heard of there being a set of rules for other places, which I'm sure there is, but because I don't live
Mm-hmm.
there, I've never visited there. It's just not something that, is in the front of my mind that I know. But
Right.
I did come across someone who was talking about New Orleans and that they have their own set of rules for when you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Which the first one was don't linger at any crossroads,
That
which
is
to me
very
in New
true.
Orleans, I kind of feel like that's a given. I wouldn't linger at the crossroads. But the
Yeah,
other one was don't accept things from people. If they try to give you something for free, you don't accept it. You don't ever
that
take
is
it.
correct.
And then the
That's
other
correct.
one was don't give anyone a name other than what your name really is. So I did come across those and I kind of read through them and it
Mm-hmm.
got me to thinking and then I kind of like dug down a little bit deeper. And one of the other things that I came across was people talking of um, destiny switching and of that being something that is happening in New Orleans, which I guess comes with these rules, kind of, because you'll find people who want to give you things and tell you, oh, I can tell your future, just bump elbows with me, and that is
Oh,
like an
no,
absolute
no, 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 hell
no,
no.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, that seems like something like I really wanted to get into it a little bit. But it was very hard to find a lot of stuff. So that's why I said we're going to jump into different things because that was one of the things. And if anybody out there that's listening knows anything, definitely put it in the chat. Let us
Mhm.
know. Text one of us because I would love to know more about that and the destiny switching. I did have one story that one lady from Louisiana gave that she had actually done it. She was jealous of her cousin and wanted to live like her cousin's life. And she found her great grandmother's grimoire and kind of went
I
in and found
yeah.
something and she
Mhm.
did it. And next thing you know,
Yep.
she was in her cousin's body for 3 days.
Yes.
So um, I was really interested in that. I mean, I wonder who else is trying to do stuff like this. But yeah, so that was something interesting that I came across, and I don't know if
Mhm.
you've seen anything or if you've heard anything about it, but that's the gist of what I found.
Yeah, funny enough, I came across something on my Facebook feed a couple days ago, like 2, 3 days ago, of a young girl talking about the story with her cousin that she had switched bodies with for like 3 days. And that whole situation, because that's not your destiny, honey.
Mhm.
You should not be bumping elbows with anybody, taking something that is not yours, taking possession, naming something yours. Um, and I know that there is someone that I follow on YouTube, and her name is Conjure Queen. And if you've ever looked her up, I love listening to Conjure Queen talk about a lot of folklore, and she is in voodoo, so she will talk a lot openly about voodoo and things
Mhm.
that you shouldn't do, or when you go down to New Orleans, or when you meet someone who is deep in the voodoo practice, that you should do and you shouldn't do. There are rules. I grew up knowing about the crossroads. You do not linger for long at the crossroads, and that, to a lot of people, not just to Southern people, um, but to people in general of the witchy variety, or people who have told tales down the line as their family has progressed. The reason that you don't do that is because lost souls linger there,
Mhm.
and they're looking for a body. Okay, that is
Mhm.
why you do not linger too long at the crossroads, because you can gain attachments at the crossroads. Conversely, there is one that said you should always, when you're traveling, carry spare change in your pocket. Um, because if you have to linger at the crossroads for a long time, like if you're in your car and you're waiting at a stoplight, and the stoplight's taking forever, take a quarter and throw it out the window at the crossroads. That's kind of like paying the ferryman, or paying the souls there, and saying, just leave me alone. Here is a gift to you. I'm lingering here because I have to for an extended period of time. There's also one that says if you meet a beggar at the crossroads who is begging for some spare change, please give him the change in your pocket, because conversely, that may be an angel. You never know who you're going to meet at a crossroads. You may be meeting an angel in disguise who will bless you in some good luck fortune fashion, that you've given them at least a little bit of spare change. Um, in other words, that's just being nice, kind of thing. Um, you know, there's a whole bunch. When you talk about a place that is steeped in superstition,
Mhm.
Nolans, Nola, who dat? Who dat is a very big uh place that talks about folklore, um not only just southern folklore, but bayou magic,
Mhm.
and what you may meet in the bayou, and where you should go on the bayou, and that you shouldn't be in there for too long if you don't know somebody that's there. uh you know a lot of hoodoo voodoo magic, um a lot of history in that place. And we said that we would, if we brought it up, we were going to bring it up, like Delphine Lalaurie. And if you don't know the history of Delphine Lalaurie, don't you call her name up, because she needs to rest and stay where she the hell buried,
Mhm.
because you need to look up the history of Lalaurie. And of course, who can forget Madame Marie Laveau?
Mhm.
She is the mother, the queen mother of voodoo magic. Um, and so much so that they've actually had to put cage around her mausoleum because there were so many people trying to break into her crypt and do like spray paint stuff on her crypt. She has a mausoleum. It's not a crypt. It's actually
Mhm.
a mausoleum. It's above the ground.
Mhm.
Um, because people were vandals were getting into there, and they were marking the graves with an X. Well, if you mark the grave with an X, that just means that you were there. That is a sign that you were there. That's considered vandalism by state law, but it was a sign of yes, I was here. A lot of oranges, a lot of coins, a lot of
Mhm.
flowers, candles. I think you can still leave an offering. I don't think it's completely caged. I think they just did it to prevent somebody from breaking into her crypt and stealing her remains or stealing something off of her body, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Although I don't know who would want to do that. To be totally honest, because you stealing something off of Madame Laveau, you went for a world of hurt, honey. You went for a world of hurt. You are
Mhm.
definitely and don't be trying to sell that ish on the black market because it that comes back to you tenfold, and it doesn't go to the person it goes to the seller.
Mhm.
So she gonna hit you either way, don't matter. And I do not want to be around when that happens. Don't want to
Mm-mm.
be around.
No, I sure
No,
would not.
no. Um, just my thing is just be mindful of when you go to new places or places you want to explore, places that are steeped in voodoo magic and other forms of spirituality. That you mind your p's and q's. You study up before you go, and you learn what to do and what not to do. But
Mhm.
yeah, it just happened that within 2 days of this airing and you saying something, I had seen that girl on my feed come up about the wanting to steal her cousin's her identity or her life,
Yeah.
and she wound up being her for 3 days and then learned a harsh lesson in the
Mhm.
very you know
Yeah.
I, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said before, I think one of my last shows was power of technology. I mean, there's so much that we get to hear and see now
Hmm.
because of being able to have, cameras and video recorders and things of that nature. And I love to hear, what's going on in other places because it might be the
Hmm.
same as here, it might not. Of course, New
Hmm.
Orleans is going to be a little bit different than I think here
Yep.
because it's just a whole nother world there. But
Hmm.
like diving down deep into it, and I went through that and was looking at that stuff. And then the other thing that I was seeing a lot of is you see a lot of videos of people saying they met vampires in New Orleans.
Hmm.
And me, no, I see things all the time. And I mean, I'm not saying that vampires don't exist. So don't anybody come at
Right.
me.
Hmm.
But, I'm definitely going to be on the side of I need to see that a little bit before I can just give into that one. But the one that hit me that really kind of stopped me in my tracks was a story not about your normal, fangs, suck your blood vampire, but it was an energy vampire.
Yes. Yes.
And
Did you see
what
that? That whole,
I
hardcore.
did.
This is what I talk about. Hardcore.
Mine's actually over here laying down all nice and peaceful right now.
I see her little buttock kiss in the window. Oh
But
my.
one of the
You gotta get
stories
yourself
was,
down.
and it actually wasn't even in Louisiana. This one actually took place in a small town in Georgia. But she said she worked,
Okay.
she was like a college age student. So she worked in a grocery store. It was like a
Hmm.
small, like mom and pop grocery store. And
Right.
she would see this guy that would come in from time to time. Said he was very quiet, kept to
Hmm.
himself. She said he was very good looking, but he
Hmm.
didn't. interact with people the way like you would normally think, like go in and hi, how are you? You know, this. She said it was the type of store that you would ask them when you were done ringing stuff up, do you need help going to your car? And if they said yes, she goes, you were the person who went to the car to help them. She goes, you didn't call for anybody. There was nobody there for that. And she said one night she was working, he came in. She said she started like picking up really weird vibes. And she said she didn't know what it was. She goes, but she just felt like something was off. She said he went and he got 2 drinks, got in her line. She rang them up, took the money, and she said, do you need help getting this to your car? She goes, even though it was 2 sodas, we still had to do it. And he said, and she said he looked at her and said, yes. She was like, so she goes, now that, you know, I've already felt a little off that of him being in here today for some reason. She goes, now I'm stuck having to go to his car and I can't figure out why, because he only has 2 drinks. And she goes, and then she goes, I only carried the one, he carried the other. And she said she followed him out to the car and he took it, put it in the car, and then he turned around and he ended up grabbing her hands and was holding her hands. And she said that he just held her hands and he stared at her. And she said after like a few seconds, he just looked at her and she goes, I don't really know how long I was standing there for. She goes, it could have been seconds, it could have been minutes. She goes, I completely lost track of time. She said, but the last thing he said to me was, you're going to need to go home after this. So go tell them you have to go home. He got in the car and he left. She said she literally made it across the parking lot to the front of the store. She sat on the bench and could not move from the bench, that she was that exhausted. I guess a few minutes went by. They came out looking for her. She was explaining that, you know, she just doesn't feel right. She feels like she may be getting sick. She's very tired. So they sent her home. And the more she thought about it, she was saying, I think he was an energy vampire. Like he literally, goes, it literally took her days to recuperate from what had happened between the 2 of them.
Right. And there are energy vampires out. I think, I don't know if we actually covered those on one of our shows, but like way back, whether it was Paranormal Talk to or whether it was Corner Cauldron. Make no mistake, people, and I'm going to make this very clear to everyone who is watching this, everyone who will watch this on YouTube. There are vampires. They are a real thing. And it's not what you think. It is not what media has made them out to be. Stop thinking they're out here drinking blood. Okay? That's movies. Okay? And even to those people who you will hit pockets of the goth groups, the emo kids, the goth crowd that say that they are actual, oh yeah, I drink blood, I'm a vampire, da 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 da. Boy, bye. Go away. Please go away. Would you rob the blood bank? Then you got something wrong with you. And you know, your body does not ingest that amount of blood properly. So they can drink it, but you're going to throw it up. And it's going to look like coffee grounds when you throw it up. Energy vampires, psychic vampires, sometimes they're called did everything ass backwards. She's lucky that she is still alive at this point. There are energy vampires out there that there are 2 classifications. One that don't know that they're doing it and don't know that they have that ability to do that. So they just involuntarily they do it. There are people out there that know that they are and do it on purpose because misery loves company and they cannot exude enough energy on their own that they have to take somebody else's, that they feed off of that. They get a rise off of that. here was the first thing that she did wrong. You said when she was in there, she admitted that she felt something very off about that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Please, for the love of all that is good and holy, when I tell you, now, Jen, you've heard me say this before to you. You've heard me say it to your sister and everybody around you. Tim, Jim, everybody in that chat that's on Facebook has heard me say, trust your gut.
Mm-hmm.
When your gut tells you something isn't right or something is off, then 99.99999% of the time, there is something that is definitely or severely not right.
Mm-hmm.
Why, of all things, if she said, hey, something was kind of off about the situation, why would you ask him to go to his car with him? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Even if he wasn't a psychic vampire. We have people who watch the show that are in there are first responders, those who are police officers, law enforcement. The first thing they're going to tell you is, why are you walking outside with a stranger? Why?
I tell everybody and a lot of my girlfriends, they think sometimes they laugh because they say I'm the mom of the group, and that's fine. I'll be the mom of the group, and I've been this way my entire life. But we would go out in big settings, and it's okay. We're all here together. We all know we're going to split up. We especially did it at Delaware Park, and that's fine. But there's a buddy system. You always have somebody with you.
Yes.
And when you go to the bathroom, you have to take somebody with you to the bathroom. And I was like, and if you get a bad feeling, you need to follow that bad feeling, and you need to find the rest of your group and make sure you are with somebody else. And, they laugh all the time. And I'm like, you have no idea. Human trafficking is a thing. It's a big thing.
It is a huge thing. Huge thing.
And it doesn't even have to be human trafficking. There's just creeps out there, unfortunately. And, you don't want to put yourself in a situation that you could have ultimately avoided just by following simple rules. So, that's me.
And you know what? If the worst thing that they do is sit there and call you the mom of the group, I am the mom of my group. I mean, not just because I'm older than everyone else in my group, which 9 times out of 10 I'm the oldest one there. But throwing that aside, I'm the one that thinks about these things. And I'm the one that has to remind people. Buddy system, just like you said, buddy system. Another thing, when girls go to the bar, don't leave your drink. Don't leave your drink. And don't accept a drink from a stranger.
Yeah, the only way I would ever accept a drink is if the bartender came over and said that gentleman wanted to buy you a drink, and I watched the bartender pour it and hand it straight to me.
Pour it, yeah.
That would be the only way.
Yeah, that's the only way. Take your drink with you, or finish it before you go to the bathroom, or when you get back from it, say, hey, can I have another? I didn't, that one, just make up some dumb excuse. It didn't taste right. I don't know. Just make an excuse, but that's ridiculous. And then he grabbed her, which is rule number 1 with me. First thing you ain't gonna do is you're not gonna grab me, but you're not gonna invade this bubble right here. It's called personal space. All right, you disrespect me by grabbing me, you better have good health insurance and be able to drive yourself to the hospital, honey, because I'm gonna pop you right in your throat.
Bruce teases me because we'll go out somewhere and it's always somebody. I'm friendly when I need to be. And, I have my small group of friends, and I'm happy with that. But I don't like going out in big crowds and peopling and stuff like that. So we'll go out sometimes and people try to approach us. And Bruce just starts yelling, doesn't play well with others.
Play well with others. I love it. That's me.
Not friendly.
I'm sorry. People have called me violent at some points. I'm sorry, but if you I don't know you and you grab me and startle me, you better have good health insurance and you better be
Mhm.
carrying an extra baggie, sandwich baggie in your pocket or in your purse to collect them chiclets gonna be falling out your mouth. Because I'm
Mhm.
real quick,
Yep.
either your throat or your face. You don't do
Yeah.
that. You don't
Bruce
do
can
that.
tell
And
you. Bruce has come up to me a couple times thinking he was being funny, and I'd be out somewhere and he'd be somewhere else, and I'm thinking he's still where he's supposed to be, and he'd
yep,
come up behind me and he'd do something and grab a hold of me somewhere, and him and a friend of mine that I work with has done it twice.
yeah,
And I'm like, girl, I'm like, you can't do that. I was like, especially if we're
gonna
out somewhere.
punch.
And I said, and I know Bruce is not here. I was like,
Yeah,
first time somebody touches me, that's it. The hands are flying.
that, oh yeah, the hands go flying, honey. The hands go flying. Teresa's in the chat tonight. Hey, Teresa. Um, yeah, that's invading personal space. And psychic vampires work. Some of them don't even have to touch you.
Mm-hmm.
They can just stare at you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or get close to you in order to basically suck all the energy or all of your light out of you. But by grabbing her and staring at her, that stare was trying to snatch her soul. Remember when we always say, and Jen, you've heard this multiple times when someone says the eyes are the window to the soul.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at somebody's eyes and you grab them and you force them to say, eyes locked with you, that's a psychic vampire trying to steal your soul, honey. And she then again they do the whole hypno thing with the eyes. Wow. And then he said something. What did he say? You tell him you have to go home. You might want to
He
take
said, you're
tomorrow
gonna
off.
need to go home and sleep. And he goes, let them
Yeah.
know you don't feel good and you need to go home. He's like, because you're gonna need to rest. So
Yeah.
it was like he kind of was nice. Like he's kind of letting her know, like, hey, you're gonna need to recoup after this. I mean, I feel like it could have been a lot worse for her, but
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I would have had to have questioned, when you have two sodas and you're like, yeah, I need help to my car. I'm like, why? You have two hands.
Well, yeah. Why? I'll give you a bag. You got two hands. I mean, you can put
Yeah.
one on the hood of your car and unlock your car, and then
Yeah.
whatever. And we always say this, and you're right. That could have been so much worse. Like he could have snatched her. He could have
Mm-hmm.
kidnapped her. He could have raped her. He could have beat her,
Because I'm not
and then
lying. When
left
I
her,
first heard the
killed
story,
her.
that's where I thought it was going. I was like, he's going to kidnap her. But
He's
no,
yeah,
he
yeah,
kidnapped her energy.
yes. Please, for the love of all that's good and holy, when someone asks you to do that and they're a stranger, I, and this is what made me worry when my kids started out working, because they got that quintessential mall job. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're teenagers, they're working at the mall, they're trying to make extra money, working retail or working in a strip mall somewhere. Both of my kids did. And I used to panic. Like I would park, make sure that I had a spot. If I was going to pick them up, right in front of their store window, if it was in a strip
Mm-hmm.
mall.
Yeah.
And I would literally mean mug through those windows and see if I could see them, walking around. It, it's just, and it's not just a motherly instinct. Dads do the same thing. But I want to say that mothers worry more internally. They do the internal freak out kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, and because you don't know where your child is. You have no control of your child. And a lot of those times, like malls let out late when it's dark. And
Yeah.
can you imagine being like October or November when it gets dark at like 4 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
It is pitch black. You hope that you teach your kids well enough and you arm them with things that they can, easily access, like pepper spray or whatever it may be, or you teach them self-defense, but you don't know them until it actually happens,
Yeah.
how they're going to react. You can take a girl, and teach her 10 years of self-defense. She's good in class, makes straight A's, in the class. The day that it happens, you just literally lose your mind. You
Yeah. Well, you
freeze
freeze.
and you
Yeah.
forget. Yeah, you forget everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then she actually did what he told her to do. That is the quintessential psychic vampire or energy vampire. Please do not, be careful. And it's not just women. There are men out there who have the same thing happen to them. I don't think it's talked about enough. About men being psychically attacked by female vampires, but it
Mm-hmm.
happens. It really does happen. It happens on both sides of the fence.
Yep.
Whoever you are, male, female, be careful when you're out. Be careful when you are in large crowds, groups of people, especially if you're in a place like New Orleans. Like that's, yeah, honey.
Yeah.
They live deep in the Big Easy, and
Yeah.
that's a whole different animal. I mean, it's fun to go down there for Mardi Gras and all that, and sit there at the Cafe Du Monde and eat your beignet and whoop it up and party, kikiing and carrying on,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get inebriated and you want to go to places that you are not supposed to be going, or uh places you shouldn't be, that you are unfamiliar with. Lisa Fiora Gretch is in the chat. Hey Lisa. Hey Jay White's in the chat. So yeah, they do exist, and be careful,
Yeah.
people. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we have friends that
Oh
live
my.
in they're not in New Orleans, they're in Louisiana, but they're not far from New Orleans. And we were talking about making a trip to go down to like see them, because I was like, I've always loved the thought of Louisiana, and it's just something, it's a place I want to visit and get it off my bucket list. And we've
Right.
talked about it a lot, and they're like, well, definitely come down, we can show you around and all that stuff. And they're like, and we could take you to New Orleans, because they knew we wanted to go. And they were like, we'll take you, but at night we're gone. They're like, we're gone before it's dark.
Yeah.
So
there are things that happen in the shadows when the sun goes down, and it's not it sounds cliche and it sounds creepy to say, oh yeah, everything changes when the sun goes down at night. New Orleans, places like New Orleans, even places like Baton Rouge, places like the Bayou, there are people who are actual natives who grew up there, who have generations upon generations of family that have lived there, who will tell you they don't go out at night because things change. It is different at night. And you need to avoid things at night.
And I think it's like that everywhere. I know New Orleans, they have a lot with, the voodoo and magic and stuff like that. But I think it's everywhere. Like when night falls, like they say, it's when, things go bump in the night. And, you just like in the Appalachians, like in Tennessee, and when we're there, there are certain things that we don't do when we go, if I sit outside when it gets dark, I'm sitting on my porch. I am not much further from my porch. That's where I'm at. That's where I live. And I don't go out. We don't go walking through the woods. We don't go calling names and whistling and all that stuff. And Bruce likes to joke with me a lot. Like, every time we go down there, he's like, well, I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to whistle. And I'm like, and I'm going to knock your teeth out. I'm like, so
I,
where are we landing with that?
yeah, I mean, you can tell Bruce that too. If I am with you and Bruce, both of us, he gonna get it from both sides. Don't you go no whistling in no woods, man. Cause no, okay. Don't you
Mm-mm.
go singing songs, answering knocks that come out of nowhere.
Nope.
Uh, answer whistling by whistling back.
Nope.
No.
I
You
don't care
have
what
got to
it is.
understand that's when the dark side of things come out. And you're
I
right,
can
it's not just
do
Louisiana.
no, and I can look you dead in your face and I feel bad sometimes, but I am not your hero. Not in those situations.
Yeah, no. Ah, I love it. She said, I'm not your hero.
I
He's
might be a
Louisiana, he
hero during the
dies.
day somewhere else, but
Uh,
not at night.
yeah, no, no. Although he says he doesn't mind Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge, I don't mind. Jay White has said, I never liked whistling. Um,
I
there is
can't
an
whistle,
old
so
folklore, and I don't know if you know it. You can go ahead and mention that. Okay, but tell everybody that's watching why we say you shouldn't whistle in the woods.
you don't whistle in the woods at night because it will draw in. Um, I don't want to say what they say it's supposed to be, but it's definitely something you're drawing in that is going to follow you home, and it's not something you want following you. And it's not, even if you were to go on vacation and do it and think you're good, you're golden because you're going 8 states away to go home, it might take 2 months, but one night you're going to be outside and you're going to hear that whistling again because it's done found you. And I'm not in for that one.
Mm-mm. I won't say their names, and everybody knows why I won't say their names.
Yeah, I'm not,
Um, they're they're shapeshifters, and there are a lot of things that live in the woods that you don't you are unfamiliar with. All right.
mhm.
This is no lions and tigers and bears BS. And again, that is doing like with fate when we say, or karma, let karma do her job. It may take a while, but when she gets here, she's gonna get here, and she's gonna put an ass whooping on you, kind of
Mhm.
thing. Um, so whistling in the woods is one. Answering knocks is another thing. Like, if you hear knocks in the woods, do not go up against a tree and knock on the tree. That is something enticing you to knock back so it knows your location.
Or if you hear somebody,
So
it
you
sounds
need,
like a woman screaming or a baby
yep,
crying in the middle of the night.
yep,
It's not, you don't go anywhere near it. You pick the opposite direction and run really, really
yes,
fast.
oh, listen, I can't run fast. I normally can't run fast, but feet don't fail me now. Achilles is gonna put some wings on these heels of mine and make me fly. I will fly, and I will trip anyone who tries to get ahead of me.
Yeah.
What if you whistle outside the woods? Teresa said, "What if you whistle outside the woods?"
I was always told never to whistle outside at night. And there's a story that I did listen to one girl, and she was the granddaughter of a woman who lived right inside of Tennessee in one of those areas. And she lived on quite a few acres. She had tons of woods near her house. And she was always brought up with the same rules. And she's like, I've always just followed them. She goes, I never asked why. She goes, I just followed them. And she goes, and for some
Mm-hmm.
reason, one night, she goes, I was back to visiting her when she was older. She was think like on college break or something like that. And she had drove back home,
Mhm.
and she said, I don't know why. She goes, something just popped in my head about it. And she goes, I got out of the car and I whistled. And she goes, and something whistled back. And she goes, and I was kind of taken back by that. So she said, I ran into the house, and she said she was sitting there and she didn't say anything to her grandmother. And she said they ended up having dinner or whatever. She said they went outside because they always sat on the porch at night. And she said, yeah, they just sat there. And she said she got outside, and they were sitting there, and she said she heard the whistle again, but it was much, much closer to where she had heard it before. And she said her grandmother looked her dead in the face, and she said, did you whistle when you got here? And she said, yeah. And she was like, I don't know why I did it. And she got up. She told her, she said, you get in this house. And they shut and locked all the doors. And she said within 5 minutes, something was banging on the front door.
Yeah.
And she said she was freaking out. She was like, you know, what is it? Who is it? She thought it was a person. And she said her grandmother just shook her head, and she said, you called it. And she goes, and now we need to let it do what it's got to do. She goes, just be quiet. Just sit down. And she said her grandmother sat there all night, never went to sleep, and had a shotgun that she pulled out and held on her lap the entire night. And she said, you'll never whistle again, will you? And she said, absolutely not. But yeah. I don't play with things like that. I mean, it could be a superstition, it could be a story, but I've seen my own weird things happen when I've been down south. You know, my, great Aunt Fanny, she was, a mountain, witch, if you want to call her that, or a mountain healer. She did all that stuff. And, I seen that stuff growing up and seeing the little things that she did when we were there visiting. And I've heard stories, and that's just, it's in, I'm stuck with it. That'll be my stance on it until the day I die.
Yeah, absolutely. You shouldn't whistle in the dark to begin with, period. End of story. At night, outside, because you are conjuring things. You are giving your location away to things that are, pardon me, of the not so good variety, that are looking for somebody to snatch. Period. End of stories. You got so many things. You got W's, you got S's, you got rakes, you've got haints, you've got ferals, especially in places like Tennessee, in the Appalachians, where there are a lot of feral people. You don't believe in feral people? Go up there and see if you come back alive. If you find a feral,
there's a lot of people that live off grid in the South, and not all of them are just people who decide, moving off the grid, and they moved everything in the last 5 years. We're talking people who have lived out there like that for years, and trust me, they know their way around those mountains. They know how to live off those mountains, and they know how to hide really, really well. And that's not something I would ever want to tussle with up there.
Absolutely. I mean, you were dealing also with supernatural things that come into play. Tim Hopper says, not a good idea. Spearfinger, feral people. The Whistler is a cousin to Bigfoot and very aggressive. You will definitely hear of things that appear like Bigfoot that they call whistlers, that are very aggressive. And if they smell you after they've heard you whistle, they come and they find you. Oh, it's over, baby. You ain't making it off of that property alive. Jay White says, I would have peed my pants. She said, I would have peed my pants. Yeah, we come from the same area. Oh, look, here he come. Come on, sir.
Surprise,
you
surprise.
Tell us what you got to say.
Hey, Jen, you and I come from the same place.
I knew
absolutely. Jen and I ancestors are mountain people, and and the mountain witches,
Mhm.
whatever you want to call them, right? Herbalists or
Mhm.
whatever. We grew up inside
Mhm.
these myths and legends, so to speak. Now,
Mhm.
there's always the truth to these myths and legends. That's why these stories have been handed down, not only for entertainment around a campfire, but also for your protection as well. Um, when you
Mhm.
enter these areas, especially up around the Appalachian Mountains, um, these stories are not just stories that have been handed down from generation to generation, from ancestors to, and to ancestors, right? We have things up there that are supernatural, and these things have been put into place for protection. And these things are there for a reason. They're there to ward off any unwanted uh, people. And when you're inviting yourself into these areas, like with the whistling or with the log
Mhm.
bumps, right? You see this stuff on TV. It's
Mhm.
set on TV for entertainment, but this stuff that is really,
Mhm.
really real in our natural settings.
Mhm.
Native Americans put a lot of these supernatural beings in place. We have things that are called the Wampus
Mhm.
Kitty. These things, it's not a kitty, I can tell you
Oh yeah,
that.
Wampus Cat.
They, exactly. These things are there to destroy you. You have
Mhm.
you have these feral people.
Mhm.
As long as you don't bother them or you invade their territory, you're fine. But once
Yeah.
you start invading
Mhm.
their area, uh, like I put in a
Mhm.
comment, you're going to wind up on a dinner plate. It's just that plain and simple.
Yeah.
Um, these mockings, these baby cries, I've heard those in the area where I came from. And the area that I came from is very,
Panthers.
very secluded. And yeah, and they're not only panthers, they could be bobcats or anything like that, because a bobcat will make the same
Yeah.
sound,
Mhm.
right? But a lot of
Mhm.
these things are imitating humans to get your attention, to draw you in. And once you
Mhm.
are subjected to that, sometimes you go under a trance, just like the lady who encountered the energy vampire. Correct? She kind of like got drained.
Mhm.
But these beings are very real, and they can put you in a trance to where you're going to do things that you normally wouldn't do outside your natural self. These areas up in the Appalachians are
Mhm.
the same way. These mountains hold a lot of energy, and a lot of people from those areas, um, they know these stories.
Mhm.
And it's best to heed the warning and don't go out
Mhm.
looking for this stuff, um, because we've all been exposed to the supernatural. We've all been exposed to it. Some of us
Mhm.
just don't acknowledge it, but some of us that have acknowledged it, like Jen has, Buffy, Jimmy, some of our other listeners,
Mhm.
and some of our guests,
Mhm.
they've experienced that stuff for firsthand. So take heed with that, and don't
Oh
trust
yeah.
that stuff, right? So, but anyway, ladies, carry on. Good show. Love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Um Even Teresa said I have an acre of field in my backyard in front of many acres of woods. I sit in my yard and look out into the woods all the time, never had a creepy feeling. We're not saying that you can't sit in your own on your own property, okay? That's not
Mhm.
and look out into the woods. That's fine. What we're asking you to do is first of all, don't be whistling out there in the dark. Number two, if something you hear something whistling in those woods at any given time, please, for the love of God, don't whistle back. You know, I don't want to get a call at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning that one of my friends is, been snatched or something missing because they did something that they weren't supposed to do. I And there are a lot of people who will take this show and look at it and say, oh, this is a bunch of honey baloney, blah, blah, blue, blue, whatever. Okay. Okay. A great majority of the people who are in the chat either have experienced it or know somebody who has experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even in the bayou, as far as like the bayous, when we talk about Louisiana, getting back to Louisiana, they have a thing called a rougarou in the bayous, in places like Baton Rouge, some of the parishes that are literally in the bayou. You are not. Don't be. Let's go take a tour of the bayou at night. BS. No, I'm not. I don't belong in the bayou at night. I don't belong in the bayou, period. Unless, I'm there with someone who I know who lives in the bayou. Went to the cabin on 360. We're in the dark forest and heard the whistles. Yes. This is another thing. We're going to talk about that in a minute, Joanne. Hey, JoJo. JoJo's in the chat. Hey, Joe.
Hi.
There is. Oh, look. Your sister said hi. We covered this on Corner Cauldron, I think it was. This was like years ago when we talked about something called a rougarou. A rougarou in the bayou is something that kind of looks like a werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
They're legend of some kind of dog man looking creature that comes out at night. Sometimes in the bayou at certain points of the year comes out and walks the bayou, and they call it a rougarou. And you should not. That is one thing you should not be whistling at. If you hear it howling, do not howl back. Do not whistle. Go straight to your home and lock your door. Okay? Hellhounds are another thing. If you hear something, bang at you or barking at you that doesn't sound like a normal dog, like if you know your neighbor has dogs, okay? Fine, and you hear them bark, that's great. But if you hear something that sounds like a dog barking but out of the ordinary, that's a hellhound. Get your ass inside your house and stay inside. Don't go outside, okay? Because if something happens to you, I'm going to be the one saying, well, what did you do? Did I tell you not to do something and you did it anyway? Okay, well then guess what? Bye. Because
You gotta get a phone call.
Stay fine.
They were running for their life, but they had little legs. They couldn't make it.
Run to the Caroline. And there are the bayou of Baton Rouge or parts of Louisiana that are bayou parishes. I know that like Pennsylvania has boroughs and they have we have counties. They have things called parishes to differentiate their counties that they have. There are people that live in the bayou, and those are the people who choose or have for generations lived in the bayou. They are people who know how to get around in the bayou during the day and the nighttime. They are generational. A lot of them do not want to be found. All you got to know is in the bayou ain't nothing in there but water moccasins, black snakes, gators, and skeeters that can carry a small child up into the air. Okay, that's it. Why would you want? Why? I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I used to go into the mountains when I was in with no issues, but no, I don't. I had to respond. I knew how to not respond. I don't. You know that I took your sister on a birthday vacation. We went ghost hunting. Do you remember that a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
When we went to the cabin on 360.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Uh-huh. There is a house in Virginia called the Cabin 36 on 360. And it is a haunted cabin. There are also haunted woods. There are multiple things out in that woods, including Native American spirit. There is, I want to say there are a lot of shape-shifting things. I won't mention it, even though I'm not Native American and I can say it. I do it out of respect. We talk about the W's and the S's. And so you toured the inside of the house. That's where I took her. You toured the inside of the house. And after the house, I had so much. She did have so much fun. So we went out into the back of the house of the cabin, and we got split up into groups and we went into the woods. All right. And of course they had places of interest. Now, do I want to say that there were some things that were not honey baloney that they added to kind of like add to the scary factor? Yes, sure. Okay. We were all in the woods. We had a good time in the woods. We were watching things. We were listening. Our group was great. And she was leaning up against a tree and she was like, I'm just trying to adjust my eyes to the light. It's dark, And I was like, are you okay? Because you look like you're a little scared there, honey. And she said, I'm just, my eyes just have a hard time adjusting to the dark. I was like, okay. There was that murder of the child. A lot of stuff happened there on the property. There was a murder of a child that had happened on the property. They do know that had happened, period. That they have documentation, they have police reports, they have a whole bunch of stuff of the child that got murdered in the cabin. All right. So with our group, we were getting ready to leave. And I said, I got this weird feeling that something was running towards our group. Our group was okay until it got to the woods, because then we had these girls, these women that wanted to block the trail back to the parking lot, that wanted to talk about their kids and little Billy's softball league and and they're standing around blocking the road. And at this point, I just wanted to throat punch people because they weren't paying attention to me. I kept saying, we have to go. We have to go. I don't like it here. They all knew what I did. They figured it out. Right. So I said, I really want to go because I'm getting the sensation that we should not be here. And I said, something is running fast and it's like dogs, like a pack of wolves, like wolves. It feels like wolves. It's like things on 4 legs and we need to move really quick. And I said, something's going to growl. And immediately after I said something's going to growl, you heard a huge growl. Then they started screaming and running towards the parking lot and leaving me behind. I was like, see, all you had to do is just, let's move it, ladies. That is great that, little Billy is in, off the tee and now actually accepting pitches from a pitcher and doing great in softball, baseball, whatever you want to call it. Can we move? Yeah.
Well, I told you about that one that Bruce and I went to, and we had the same thing. You had that group of women, and they were talking about, their day and what happened. And finally, I just looked at them and I said, you guys could have saved yourself the money from the ticket.
Yeah.
And you could have had this conversation at a coffee shop.
Absolutely. It's the same thing was going on. Same exact thing was going on. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to throat punch some people. Your sister says when you're in a pitch black darkness, you get dizzy because you couldn't see anything. That was her response.
She is dizzy.
Well, that is true. You are dizzy, honey. But we love you anyway because you're dizzy. Those are not wolves, honey. I know they're not wolves. But I couldn't get them to move any faster. And they're sitting there not paying attention, talking louder over top of me. And I'm like, okay. And Joanne's behind me. And Joanne grabs my arm. When she heard the grab, she was like, let's go. And I'm like, and she's yanking me, like doing the whole yank, 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 yank up the trail into the parking lot. And then she goes, what the was that? And I said, I told you. I felt something and I heard a light growl. It was going to growl even more. And she's like, oh my God. You know, I just don't understand why people just don't pay attention. You know, it suits yourself. You know, no, you're not dizzy, Joanne. You're just cautious. Tim said she's cautious. That's okay. Leave your sister alone. Yeah, leave your sister alone. We love you.
No.
We love you, Joanne. We really
No,
do.
I'm picking on her because she canceled our plans on Saturday.
Joanne. Lovey. I mean, you know, inquiring minds want to know about this, but then we'll save that for another day. Yeah. But you have to understand a place, especially like New Orleans, Louisiana, period. He said, what you doing Saturday? Tim was asking everybody what they're doing on Saturday. Things that are steeped in history. You've got a lot of tragedy there. Okay. You've got tragedy that goes all the way back to like 1600s. You've got slaves that are being dropped off on cargo ships and being sold at auction that are a mix of cultures, from Haitian to Caribbean to African, and they have different spiritual practices or beliefs. Mm-hmm. You have them coming in. There's a tragedy right there. These people have been kidnapped out of their homes, taken to a land that they're unfamiliar with, and sold as slaves. You have witch hunts. You have voodoo. You have Delphine Lalauerie's house, which was burnt, where she tortured multiple slaves, mm-hmm. And set fire to her property. You have Madame Laveau, Marie Laveau. You know, that's steeped in hoodoo practices. Those shops that they have that are on down the street, I mean, go in there, and again, like we said, how many times have you heard me say, Jen, don't touch shit in there?
Mm-hmm. And that would be the thing. I know not to touch nothing, but Bruce, I have to tie his hands.
That's okay. You can just call me and look, pre-record my voice. Bruce, stop touching. Bruce, stop touching. Bruce, stop touching. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. What are you doing? Touching it. Stop touching it. Real hoodoo practitioners have to be found. They don't put a sign out on their door that says, oh, card readings, or oh, hexes, oh, candle magic work, whatever, you know, drawing bones or casting bones kind of thing. Those real practitioners, you got to find them, boys. You got to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody.
And they're going to be in a back alley somewhere that you wouldn't even come across unless you had directions.
Yes, in a bayou somewhere, living in a school bus. Mm-hmm. That they got to put a burlap bag over your head to drive you there because they don't want you to know where you are, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they will not charge you $100 or $200 These priestesses and priests charge you thousands of dollars. Thousands. That you have to mortgage off your house, honey. You know what? And if you don't have it, bye. You just shouldn't meddle in things that you don't understand. That's why we always tell people that you should, study places before you go. Like learn about customs, learn about places you should go, places you shouldn't go. Ask the locals that are there. Where is it safe for me to go? Where is it not safe for me to go? There are people that I know, friends of mine, that are EMTs and paramedics in NOLA, in the Big East. And there are people and they're in a place where you shouldn't be. They lay offering before they get out of that rig. You know what? They've seen a lot. They've seen way too much. So please be careful of where you're going and what you're doing. I don't know about you. I've never been to New Orleans. I've always wanted to go. My mom's gone. I want to go during Voodoo Fest. But I heard Voodoo Fest has been permanently canceled due to I guess it was over COVID. It was canceled, and then they're not doing it again because it costs too much or whatever's. Sound like out of tune banjo. That sounded like an out of tune banjo. Bling a ling a ding. Listen, if somebody starts picking a banjo and tells me you sure do got a pretty mouth, I literally levitate out of my body. You might as well kill me right there, because no. But I would like to make it down to New Orleans. I have friends that live in New Orleans who've moved. Friends who I've met who've come up here to see family members who are born and raised in New Orleans. Be respectful to spirit always when you're going somewhere. Be respectful to the culture. Do not antagonize culture. That's an easy way to find yourself in a back alley somewhere with a slit throat, or have some kind of hex put on you that you cannot break. All right, is disrespecting somebody's culture and going where you shouldn't be going. So that's all I'm saying, and that's all I got to say about that.
Yep, I agree.
Yep. Got that right. Okay. So what else? You got anything else about New Orleans, man, that we didn't cover?
I mean, going to the vampires, and we can keep talking about them. One of the other things was I know you've heard the story, and probably a lot of the listeners have heard the story about the Carter brothers and what happened with them in their apartment off of Bourbon Street. And and I've heard about that for years, and I've watched different documentaries they've done and stories and things. But the one thing that gets me is they were caught, they were executed, they were buried. But when they went back into the mausoleum, their bodies were gone. Where are they?
I would say grave robbers.
I mean, it makes you wonder, is that what it was?
It does make you wonder. I think that's a case of grave robbers. And things that still go on today. you'll still see people walking into or breaking into mausoleums. They don't give a shite about the dead. They'll pull rings and necklaces off of dead people's fingers with no problem to make a couple of bucks. Yeah, that Carter brother case was a bad thing, bad scenario. The more I read it, I was like, oh God, no, oh Jesus, okay, that's what we doing. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
I mean, it makes you think, because it was back in 1800 and something. I don't know what year it was.
I think you're right. I think it was in the 1800s.
Like, I'm gonna say like 1890 something.
Hurry up, everybody! Google
1930s. So it was the 1930s.
Okay, 1930s. Yeah.
I mean, even with that, like, you know, the one girl got away and she told the police, and the police went. And you guys sit there and think that it took 8 police officers to get these 2 brothers because they apparently were throwing the police across the room. So, and I feel like in 1930s, did they have the sort of drugs back then that we have now that gives people superhuman strength? I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, we know they had laudanum, we know they had opium, but those are downers. I don't know of anything, any substance. Well, I want to say there was cocaine, but I don't think they were using it in somebody Google real quick when the first can of Coke was made, or when Coca-Cola, because Coca-Cola is old, and that's why they called it Coca-Cola, because it contained properties from the coca leaf, which is basically cocaine. You know, basically cocaine that they're drinking. Laudanum was big, opium was big back then, but I don't want to say that what the cops, when the cops got there or constables got there, what they saw was something that they machinated or that they made up. You know, I want to say that it's a great possibility. I don't know if those 2 were actually vampires. I just want to say that I want to believe that they had some kind of blood fetish, maybe. And the way that they tortured those people, or first can of Coke is 1886. So when did we say the Carter brothers were? 1830s? 1830s. Okay, yeah. So cocaine, yeah. Yep, was a big thing back then. So who knows? Maybe they were I don't know how many words I can put it into that we don't get like taken off the air. They were dealing in snow, maybe. Let's just put it that way.
I mean,
they were playing in the snow.
I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, we don't know. And then their bodies are no longer there, so it's not like you could test them for that in their DNA or anything.
Right.
But you also have, is it Jacques Saint Germain?
Okay.
He's another one that he's apparently appeared through time in different areas, from like Britain to New Orleans and so forth. And they all, everything that's put in there is that they all say this guy, his name changes, but it's still the same guy. And he just keeps moving through. And it was brought up that he was in Louisiana and somebody, was it this? I might be getting them confused, but I think it was, nope, it was him. That they say when they went into his house in 1902, there were clothes that were found from different time periods that had blood on them. So how true that is, I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know at this point. Do I want to say that there are people that are out there with a fixation on blood? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Or have some weird like kink going on with blood and feeding off of women and all that good stuff. Yeah. I don't want, what I hesitate to say is that there are like what we depict on TV as vampires, the ones that actually, they seduce women and then they, drain them full of blood and then, they feed them their blood back and they become vampires and da-da-da, Nosferatu and all that good stuff. We do know that photophobia is a serious illness where people are afraid, they can't go out in the sun because it hurts their eyes. We know that for a fact, scientifically, that there are people that are allergic to the sun, that cannot go outside because they will get second and third degree burns, albeit be a very rare issue. There are kids that can't go out in the sun that are born with this rare genetic condition that they're allergic to the sun. That's fine. That's great. But as far as like, kind of like doing the Vampire Diaries thing, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. And I'm the first one to sit here and go along with everybody, be like, yeah. That is one of the things I'm hard pressed to believe. Marie Laveau, not sure on the spelling, Dwayne. Bloody Mary is the voodoo queen there now. Many more, I'm sure. Yeah. There is always somebody up to take up the queen voodoo role now that Marie Laveau is gone.
There actually, when I was looking through stuff earlier, there is now what they claim to be the new queen of voodoo in New Orleans. And I can't remember her first name, but her last name is Laveau. And apparently she is a very long descendant of Marie Laveau.
Is it possible? Yes. But I want to see driver's license, DNA. I want a DNA test. I want birth certificate, because anybody can go and get their name changed if they spend the money. They can get their name changed, right?
Well, that's why I said supposedly.
Look, supposedly, bunny ears, beep, 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 beep. Supposedly, anybody can change their name for the right amount of money. They can go into court and say, I just don't like my name. I want to change it. Okay. Cool beans. Make sure you get all your register things taken care of and all your legal ish taken care of. To me, I don't care if she calls herself the queen. Now listen to this. It's going to go across the airwaves and I'm going to get hexed in the middle of the night. I still consider Marie Laveau the original. There will never be another Marie Laveau other than the original one who was in that cemetery in the French Quarter. And that's just hope you did a lot of research on Lalaurie and found out what a horrible, wicked, despicable, just disgusting piece of, cow manure she was. Okay. This is a woman who would bleed her slaves. She was also considered a vampire. Do you know that, right?
Who would bathe in their blood.
Yes. She would bathe in their blood.
She thought
She
it would make her younger.
Yep. There were people that claim that she never looked a day older, although the years went by. She would upstairs in the attic. She kept a torture chamber of her slaves, and she would actively bleed them, and she would bathe in buckets of their blood. Be careful. I don't have no garlic. Look at that. Tim said he had no garlic. I better be careful. She would bathe in their blood, and then she would apply their blood as makeup at night as a night mask treatment on her face, because she said it kept her young. Right? Lisa has been to her graveyard. She never found her grave, though. Depends on where you're looking, though. Nasty old woman. Yeah, she was a nasty old woman, this Delphine. You have to be very specific when you ask directions on where her grave is, Madame Laveau. It's there. You just have to you have to ask. You have to know who you're asking to find that grave. You have to be very specific, and it's an above ground grave. It's not down in the dirt.
Didn't I hear that they moved it because they were having a lot of issues with vandalism?
I know that may be a possibility that they moved it. The last time I had heard that they had actually put a fence or like a cage. You know how you see those old timey cages on in cemeteries over top of grave, and they said, "What's that for?" And that was to keep grave robbers from getting to the grave, but it was also to
getting out.
Yeah, or the undead coming out. Who knew? It's for vampires to come out and terrorize the neighborhoods of people. It wasn't it. I did see it on the news years ago that they had put a cage, something like that, around it, and a fence around it to keep people from like spray painting. They did recognize or notify the police that there was some vandalism on her mausoleum, that there looked like somebody had tried to take crowbars and open it. So there was like chunks at the top corners of her where the door would have been. They tried to pry the door open. There was spray paint all over. I know that they had somebody scrub it and remove it. But so you may be right. They may have moved it. I mean, that would be something, I don't know. We got like 3 minutes left on the show. Let me find out. Did they move Marie Laveau? Did they move you, ma'am? Did they move Marie Laveau? EAU's grave site. By visitors, commonplace by visitors in the past to mark the recorded gravesite of Marie Laveau with 3 X's, which I told you about. It has. They make no mention of it, of them moving it. It is still the number 1 tourist attraction in New Orleans when you take a tour. Apparently. And they charge you $300 to go on an after dark ghost tour.
$300
per person.
I will scare myself for free on the road. Trust me, I can make up all kinds of stories on my own.
On my own, yes, honey, for free. I'm just saying. Yeah. she's been, according to them, they have not. They closed off. Okay, so this is what I've learned. She is buried in St. Louis Cemetery in the Big Easy in Houdet. They have closed off that part of the cemetery to general public. So she is buried. She died in 1881. Those graves are very old. So basically, what they did was they cordoned off that part of the cemetery where, it's like Gettysburg. They have like the very old part where, I don't think much of anybody is buried now. And it's off limits to the general public unless you're on one of those guided tours, in which you pay $300 per person and then have to tip the tour guide after.
They'll accept Monopoly money.
Do they accept Monopoly money? Do they accept jelly beans? Do they accept good looks? Asking for a friend. Because, if I'm going to the Big Easy, I'm not be spending $300 on a guided tour of ghosts. Like you said, I will scare myself for free. Don't know myself, seen the graveyard, but it's been over 20 years. My tour was from a helicopter and a boat at the time. Yeah, Tim was there during Katrina. So he saw a lot of devastation. And that's another thing. That's another essence that's carried all day long in that place. Destruction. That poor city has been whooped and walloped by more storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, and all of it to last a lifetime. I'll take you to charge you for it. What are you trying to say, Tim? Tim said he'll take us on a tour. Are you going to take us on a tour from a whirlybird? I'm going to go on a helicopter. 3-hour tour, and we're gonna be like, oh, he said he'll take us on a tour and he won't charge us. Look at that.
No, I won't charge you at all. I'll take you on that tour. But yeah, my tour consisted of the boat and helicopter, and then boots on the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I don't have any good memories from New Orleans. None at all.
Yeah, no, not a lot of good memories from New Orleans. There's a lot of devastation, a lot of anger, a lot of murder, a lot of torture and pain in that place, and a lot of PK energy throughout that entire place that, I would see where it would make anybody who's gifted very anxious and very hard to walk those streets. You know what I mean? I will run around dressed as a ghost for free. Jim said he'll walk around. He'll run around as a ghost for free.
Now that's worth taking a trip. Jimmy, I'll take you out there just to see that. Just to see that, Jimmy.
Just to see that.
And I tell you what, I might even get behind you. I might even be chasing you with a broom.
Lord. Oh, Lord. We're going to have a whole fiasco on our hands, Jen. A whole fiasco. Look what we opened up a can of worms, honey bunny. Oh, my goodness. So this has been a great show. Do you have anything else to add to the show? This is a great topic. We need to elaborate on this topic a little bit more.
I do have one more thing. And this is just a quirky little thing because I saved it for the end. So, we'll leave off on a funny note. But in Louisiana, did you know it is illegal to have a goatee?
Oh, see, you're trying to make them defunct rules like they used to. Yeah. Illegal to have a goatee. Tell that to every young man.
It is illegal to have a goatee, and they actually
illegal
say
to
that
have
you
goatee.
have to have a license in order to have one. But it's been so long that they don't push the rule anymore. But it is still a law in Louisiana.
I'm
Yeah, that's
sorry.
because you're infringing on the Louisiana tea.
Oh Lord. I not can't with you tonight, Tim. I cannot.
Remember the guy
with
that
you
used to
tonight.
sell the Louisiana tea?
You know,
He had the goatee. Well, they stopped that.
yes,
They banned him. So
yes,
now
he
you
had a
can't have that
goatee.
goatee.
And then
Yeah.
you're gonna say people in Kentucky can't have goatees because they look too much like Colonel Sanders. They're gonna
That's
infringe
right.
on Colonel Sanders.
That's exactly right. You're infringing on the trademark.
Oh Jesus. Well, if we're gonna make stupid rules, you know Delaware's got a stupid rule. You know it is illegal to walk down the street on a Sunday eating ice cream in Delaware.
Well, that's because the piss ants has got to sleep.
On a Sunday.
Yeah. You know,
In
you got to
front of
have
the
one
church,
day of
probably.
resting.
I don't
Right?
know. Oh Lord. No, I can't. I mean, that's just on a Sunday in the state of Delaware. You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy laws in all the different states, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of these
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Well, I think where is it? It's in I think it's in Illinois. In Illinois, it is illegal to go fly fishing for whales from inside your car.
Who's fly fishing for a whale?
Inside your car in a landlocked state. Yep.
I'm telling you.
Yep. And no keeping giraffes in your pool. Or no keeping giraffes in your bathtub. Where was it? I saw this. I think it was like someplace like Wisconsin. Wisconsin, you're not allowed. It's illegal for you to put your pet giraffe in your bathtub or keep them in your bathtub. Yeah.
I got no words.
I want to know who started this BS that they actually had to make rules like this. Who are these people? Who are these people?
Yeah, I need to know the story behind what happened to cause these things to come into effect.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Anything else, ma'am, before we end the show? This was great. I'm so happy that you're back.
No, I don't think I have anything else, but I'm going to dive in and see what I can come up with for next time. And I'll probably, once I get it narrowed down, I'll send you a text, let you know. And
sweet. And we will have to elaborate on this New Orleans thing a little bit further. We're going to have to dig deep.
Yeah, because there's just so much. I was just like, there's like so much I can dig up and read, and I'm like, at some points I'm like, I feel like I'm studying for school.
I know. Now you know how bro and I feel. I mean, you know, we'll text each other. What you got? I got nothing. I got nothing too. Oh shit, here we go. I don't know. Okay. You know, or we get into a subject and we don't realize how deep it is, and then things just go pear-shaped. You know?
I've come up with some things sometimes in the past, and I'm sitting there writing down all kinds of things, and Bruce is looking at it, and he's like, "Are you writing an essay? What are we doing?" Like, it feels like that sometimes. There's so much stuff to talk about.
I know. Tim says you're okay if you put them in the shower, though. Apparently, you're okay if you put your ass in the shower, just not in the tub. Just not in the tub. So that was another episode. This has been another episode, another crazy episode of Witches Winging It. Jen, I'm so glad you're back. So is everybody else. Much
Thank
love, you know, to you and the family. Before we leave, I will be in Ringtown, Pennsylvania this Saturday, May 10th, doing readings. So if you want a reading, hit me up. I'll be in Ringtown, PA, at the Tree of Life shop with Mr. and Mrs. Tree and Aries the shop cat. So I will be at another place. This is a little further down the road. I've had to pick up another another shop, another place, to add to the income. So I will give you all the details about that. But any mahoodles, Jen, you have anything else to say, hon?
Nope, just that I missed everyone, and I am glad I'm back. And I hope by our next show, I'll have a really good topic.
Well, I can always contribute to those topics. So we can put our heads together and figure out something. But you have carried the weight of this show thus far, Miss Ma'ams, and I appreciate you in every capacity, every sense of the word. Um, and again, we're so happy that you're happy to be back because we missed you as well. And with that being said, we're going to close out the show. And as I always say, love, peace, and chicken grease, y'all. Bye.
Bye. Keep it witchy.
Love you all.